Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and obviously I'm down in the studio again. Aha. That is a girdle hanger that fell off the spruce, but it looks like it's still okay. I know I had one. This one looks like it's okay. Those are medallions. I had one really failed up, messed up flask. So I wound up with a couple of medallions that are only halfway there. That happens sometimes. Here is where that girdle hanger came from. Girdle hangers are Anglo-Saxon. They are the equivalent of an Anglo-Saxon wedding ring. It's simply something that a woman wore on her belt to let any man that she might run into know that she was a married woman. And as we know, that always makes just as much difference as you wish it to make, just like a wedding ring does. I know some people that shouldn't wear one. Anyway, there we go. Okay. So far, so good. Most of this stuff looks very good. Pendants. Those are Viking pendants. We call them Valkyries, but they're probably not really Valkyries. They're probably just women in ceremonial costumes. But they could be Valkyries, and we will never know because we are not inside these people's heads. We just have art to work with. Those look pretty good. Let's see, those are badges that you can sew onto clothing and stuff like that. Those turned out good. And medallions that you would hang on a necklace. I only have 4 flasks that were done. 4? Yeah, 4 flasks that were done in sterling. I need to do lots more sterling work, but those are buttons. These are cool. I call these nipple buttons because they looks like a breast with a nipple on it. I don't know if there's a technical term for it, to be honest. I've never seen any technical term, so most people I know just call them nipple buttons because that's what they look like. And I do have some failed pieces in here, these half medallions, which I knew about yesterday when I was casting. That was just a flask that went wrong. Stuff happens. Okay, so I have a couple of good thimble rings on here, and a couple of failed ones, and some pendants. Those are good. This is a total experiment. I did not have time to cast anything fancy, so I cast something simple. And we'll see if I like them enough, and if I don't like them enough, I'll simply improve them before I actually use them. But my goal is to be able to cast my own, because I'm doing some specific things that I have not been able to find nice looking, historically appropriate caps for. And I can get all kinds of what they call bead caps on Etsy and eBay and everywhere else, but most of them are not historically accurate, and since that's what I specialize in, I've broken down and realized I need to just do it myself. I've been trying to avoid that for a while, and once in a while I can get pieces. There's stuff that comes out of Israel once in a while that is close enough that you can use it, but I can't get it reliably. So that's not really a solution for me. I need something I can get reliably, because I make the knit chains that I need it for all the time. So I'm trying to come up with a better solution, and especially right now I'm working towards Christmas in terms of what I'll be selling. There's the loose button. That's actually salvageable. There's nothing wrong with the button. It's just the actual sprue that was on the bottom of it that broke it. That's fine. It cast, but then it fell off. That's okay. We can tolerate that. So in order to be 100% sure that I have got everything out of here, I need to dump it. This is always messy. And sometimes involves getting your shoes wet. So I'm trying not to move these stupid bags because they're very fragile at this point. These are different size screens that you can use to keep stuff from falling through. I'm just going to use a fairly big one, because if there's anything in there, it'll be pretty obvious to me. Move this guy out of the way so I don't dump him on the floor and make a bigger mess. You'll notice I have rubber mats on the floor here, but not everywhere in the studio. These are the standard rubber mats that they sell at places like Harbor Freight and stuff. They just make it a little easier on your back when you're spending forever on your feet. This is heavy, by the way. I don't know how much it weighs, but a lot. And this is an excellent example of why you do it this way, because there was 2 pieces. And I have a phone call. Okay.
A few moments later.
Okay, this happy little mess over here is where I cut the pieces that were cast off of the sprues. Now the sprue is the junk metal that holds everything together. So I have a vise here that I can use, and I have all kinds of cutters and files and everything else. I'm thinking I may actually have to get something out of the truck, but I hope not. Let me see. Do I have? Part of the problem is some of this equipment actually lives in the truck when I'm going to an event, which we're getting ready to go do. And there is a saw blade. I mean, a saw thing, but do I have a blade for it? I think the answer is no. That's not good. Okay, so I can show you what I will do with a small piece at least. And this guy. Usually what I would do is use a saw and clamp this into a vise, and too much junk piled up here right now. All kinds of projects that are in process here. which is never a good idea. Usually I clean this up before I go to use it again. And there's a saw blade. So let's see. Which way did the teeth go? There we go. Have to put a new blade in here. This is not a new blade, this is a new old blade. Which is never as good. But sometimes that happens. I actually need to go to the hardware store and get some more blades. I might have some more in the truck. We will see. But I will screw a blade in here. And we'll see if this will work. And I'm just literally going to saw these sprues here. On the smaller ones, sometimes I can also use a cutter. And see, now is when I can start to see whether a piece really came out well. That looks good. If I had an automated saw of any kind, I could use that. I don't. So far, so good on these, which I am very pleased at because I am out of this particular medallion. And people really like it. So. There we go. Now, what I'm trying to do is cut relatively close so I don't have a lot to grind off here, but I also have to not cut so close that the saw can accidentally slide sideways and scar the metal, because then you've ruined it. And these little guys will be polished up and they will be remelted and used to make new things. So at this point, what I can do is, let me get a cutter, and this is a Japanese sprue cutter. Doesn't matter which country makes it. Japan actually makes some very good tools. Italy does too. Pakistan and China make lots of tools, but they are not always the quality that one would like to have. And what I'm doing here is cutting off more so that I don't have to grind off as much. You'll see me push on that so that I'm not having to squeeze as hard. It's going to be rough on your hands. I have a mechanical cutter here. It's not working right. And I don't want to spend an hour or two fiddling with it. That will be one of the projects that we will work on when I get back. There we go. So now what I've done is I've cut these so they're mostly round. You can see there's a, right there is where the sprue is attached. It's rough there. It's sharp, as a matter of fact. And each one of those will have one of those on it. But it's now in good enough shape that I can toss these into a tumbler and polish them.